Hello, everybody. What's happening? This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So, okay, let's see. All right. So today, I just learned a new term called Soulaa or Solan. So I was wondering, well, what this term means, Soulaa or Solan. So I wanted to share the information with you guys. It's another term for African Americans or the African in the diaspora. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the information what I discovered thus so far. Okay. So I found this information on ilovemyculture.com. All right. And it says, what is a Solan culture? So a Solan culture is a vibrant and rich part of Afro-American heritage. The term Solan comes from the amalgamation of two words, soul and African American. It represents the essence of what it means to be black in America. So one of the key aspects of Solan culture is the importance of place on the soul. Soul music, soul foods, and soul brother and sister are all significant elements of this culture. Soul music in particular has its roots in the gospel music of black church, jazz, hip hop, country, R&B, and has since become genres that has transcended boundaries and influenced many other styles of music. Soul food is another integral part of Solan culture. It originated from the culinary tradition of the South and has evolved over the time to reflect the ingredients and cooking techniques available all across the U.S. Fried chicken, collard greens, yam, macaroni and cheese, and sweet potato pies are just a few examples of signature dishes in Solan cuisine that has gained widespread popularity. Then it goes on to talk about the Tuk language is also unique to Solan culture. It is an African American vernacular English that has evolved over time and has its roots in the Creole languages spoken by the Gullah people of the Low Country region of South Carolina and Georgia. Also, in terms of invention, Solan culture has contributed significantly to American society, from the traffic lights to the potato chip, from the iron board to the doorstop, and from the gas mask to the pacemaker. Many inventions that we use today were created by African American inventors. We would not have cell phones if it were for the creation of the gamma electrical cell by Black American inventor Henry T. Sampson. And most of our cell phones would not have microphones in them if it weren't for the particular microphone that was created by Black American inventor James Edward West. Then Black electrical engineer Jesse Russell pioneered the creation of 2G internet. All right. So then it goes on to say that traditional dress is an essential aspect of Solan culture. Bold and colorful fabrics are often used to create beautiful and integrate design. Hmm. The Black American Heritage flag print is also a popular garment worn by both men and women and has become a symbol of Afro American pride and identity. Values and origin are also significant parts of Solan culture. African Americans have a rich history that dates back before the time of chattel slavery. Despite facing the most challenging circumstances, they have emerged as a people with a unique perspective on life and a strong sense of community and resilience. In conclusion, Solan culture is a beautiful and rich part of Afro-American heritage. It encompasses everything from food and music to language, tradition, and values. Each of these elements is essential to understand the African American experience and the contribution this community has made to American society. So during Black History Month, we should take the time to recognize and celebrate Solan culture and impact it has had on the world. All right. So basically, the Solan culture. And peace to everybody in the chat. Shout out to my boy, Dejan. How you doing? Peace, brother. How you doing? Good evening to you. So the Solan culture represents those who are of African descent that are descendant of enslaved Africans in the America. Now, I also found some information that I thought was quite flattering as far as if I can pull it up. Probably can't pull it up, but I don't know. Hold on, give me a moment, you guys. I'm trying to pull this up. I don't think I can pull the image up. Okay, maybe not. Let's see, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, there we go. I got the image. All right. So I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys this. There we go. All right. So here it is. So I thought this was very interesting. So it also shows the Solan subgroups, and some you may be familiar with, and some you may not be familiar with. So you got the Americo-Liberians, right? So the Americo-Liberians are the Liberian people who are currently in Liberia that are a descendant of African Americans that came over to Liberia. Okay. And that was during the time of the, and was it American Colonization Society, right? So when the free Africans, they were able to go into the area of Africa in a new land, which is called Liberia, and it means liberty. All right. So as you can see, the flag, it gets its origin from the American. Okay, so you got the Liberians who are, descendants of, free liberated Africans, and also descendant of African Americans. But we all descend of African people, anyhow. Then it shows here Jersey Americans. Okay, the people in New Jersey, you know. And then you got New York Americans. You got Afro-Novias, which I'm gonna go into. Is Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is located in Canada, okay, and those African descended brothers and sisters, they are a descendant of African Americans as well. Then you got Samania Americans, which they are located in the part of Dominican Republic, okay, and they are a descendant of African Americans who came to Dominican Republic. And Louisiana Creole, is the Creole people of Louisiana. You will find a lot of them in New Orleans, especially. Okay. Um, the Moroccans, of course, they in Trinidad. They are descendant of African Americans. The Gullah Geechee people, South Carolina. Afro Seminoids, the brothers and sisters who are African and also they got Native American mix. And the Mascogos. The Mascogos are the African descendant brothers and sisters that are located in Mexico. Okay. So, and see, and this represents the Solan subgroups of people. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I want to talk a little bit about the Afro-Novas. All right. So, not a lot of us know about the Afro-Nova people, so I want to share that information with you guys. Okay. So who are the Afro-Novas? All right, so let me pull this information up for y'all. Someone put, I actually do historical video. You feel free. Okay, all right. I'll be looking into that. I'm glad that you came over here and told me that. I'll be looking into that. So let's talk about the Afro-Novia. A lot of black people don't seem to believe that there are blacks in Canada, but they are. So the Black Nova Scotian. All right, so the Black Nova Scotian, also known as African Nova Scotian or Afro-Nova Scotian, are Black Canadians whose ancestors primarily date back to the colonial United States as slave or freemen, later arrived in Nova Scotia, Canada, during the 18th and 19th century. As of 2021 census of Canada, 28,220 Black people live in Nova Scotia, most in Halifax. Since the 1950s, numerous Black Nova Scotians have migrated to Toronto for its larger range of opportunities. Before the immigration reform of 1967, Black Nova Scotians formed 37% of the total Black Canadian population. All right. So it says the first record of the free African person in Nova Scotia, which is Matthew da Costa, a Mi'kmaq interpreter, was recorded among the founders of Port Royal in 1604. So West Africans escaped slavery by coming to Nova Scotia in early British and French colonies in the 17th and 18th centuries. So many came as enslaved people, primarily from the French West Indies, to Nova Scotia during the founding of Louisbourg. The second major migration of the people to Nova Scotia happened following the American Revolution, when the British evacuated thousands of slaves who had fled from their lines during the war. They were given freedom by the crown if they joined British line, and some 3,000 African Americans were resettled in Nova Scotia after the war, where they were known as Black Loyalists. There were also forced migration of the Jamaican Maroons in 1796. Although the British supported the desire of a third of the Loyalists and nearly all the Maroons to establish Freetown in Sierra Leone 4 years later, where they formed the Sierra Leone Creole ethnic identity. Okay. And then goes on to talk about the next major migration happened during War of 1812, again with African Americans escaping slavery in the United States. Many came after having gained passage and freedom on British ships. So the British issued a proclamation in the South promising freedom and land to those who wanted to join them. Creation of institutions such as the Royal Acadian School and the African Baptist Church in Halifax, founded in 1832, opened opportunities for Black Canadians. So during the years before the American Civil War, an estimate 10 to 30,000 African Americans migrated to Canada. Mostly as individual or small family groups, many settled in Ontario. A number of Black Nova Scotians also have some Indigenous heritage due to historical intermarriage between Blacks and First Nation communities. All right. So those are the Afro-Novias. All right, the Afro-Novias. And who is the Mascogos? So the Mascogos, let's look into that. The Mascogos people. All right. All right, so here's the information. So the Mascogos are an Afro-descendant group in Soulaa, Mexico, if I'm saying it right, centered on the town of El Nacimiento in Mascogos municipality. The group are descendant of Black Seminoles escaping the threat of slavery in the United States. Okay. After the forced relocation of the Seminoles and Black Seminoles from Florida to Indian Territory, a group led by the Seminole sub-chief Wildcat and Black Seminole chief John Morris moved to northern Mexico. The group settled at El Nacimiento in 1852. They worked for the Mexican government to protect against Indian raids. Many of the Seminoles died from smallpox, and many of those remaining eventually returned to the United States along with some of the Black Seminoles. So it says in May of 2017, the governor of Coahuila, Ruben Maria Valadez, signed a decree that recognized the Tribu de los Negros Mascogos as a pueblo indígena de Coahuila. He said that he hopes the Mascogo can begin receiving funds from the Institutional Nacional de Pueblos Indígenas by 2018. All right, so Morella Valadez also highlighted that the history of the Mascogos, Kickapoo, and Chinese immigrants were now included in the state's history textbooks. Okay. So it goes on to say that the Mascogos celebrate Juneteenth. During the festivities, the community is visited by family members and Black Seminoles from Brackenville, Texas. Mascogo traditional dishes include sosike, a type of atole, titampun, bread made of camote, pumpkin, or was it pelosilo empanadas, and pan de morterio. So the traditional costume of the Mascogos women is a long polka dotted dress and apron and kerchief? Kerchief tied around the head as of 2016. The only pure Mascogo was an 85-year-old Lucia Vazquez, a result of frequent out marriage in the community. All right, so Afro-Seminole Creole is used for the Capipule, Capipule, and is spoken mostly by the elderly. All right, so that's the history about the Mascogos people. They are of African descent. Of course, they are descendant of the Black Seminoles that escaped from slavery in the United States. Okay, that's their flag. All right. And let's look at the Louisiana Creole flag real quick. All right, so let me share this information with you guys. Oh, child. Okay. So in 1987, P. Bergeron crafted this Creole flag. So this emblem combines symbols of Louisiana French heritage, represented by a white fleur de lis, with influences from West African culture, depicted by the Mali Republic national tricolor flag and the Senegal Republic national flag. Additionally, the Spanish colonial heritage is symbolized by the Tower of Castile. All four distinct symbols are united by a white cross, symbolizing the harmony of the Christian faith and embraced by the diverse Muslim and Islamic communities from Senegal and Mali in Louisiana. This flag is a powerful representation of the unique blend of histories and tradition that defines our vibrant Creole culture. All right. So as you can see, that's the Creole flag. So this represents the French heritage. Let's see. This represents the Mali flag, and this is Senegalese or whatnot, and I think the other one is the Spanish heritage flag, which is this right here. Okay. All right. So yeah. So going back to the picture, the previous picture. This picture right here again is the subgroups of the Solan. All right. So if any adults individuals want to come to you and start talking about these people are not American descendant of slaves or whatnot, tell them to go study the history thoroughly. Tell them that there are American descendant slaves or African descendant of American slaves, right? That there are in other countries, okay? There are in various parts of the world. You got some African descendants of slaves in Sierra Leone. They are called the Creole people. Tell them to go study their history. So anytime an ADOS or FBA come talking that nonsense, you just tell them that they need to look into the history more and study more about it before they start talking crazy. All right, so let me go ahead and read the comments. It says you also, hold on. It says you also have the Afro-Hebrew Israelites, which are African American that migrate mostly to Chicago to Israel in the 1960s. Definitely, I'm glad that you brought them up because at one point in time, I used to be a Hebrew Israelite, and the Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters that I was with, they was non-Messianic Hebrews. Um, but yeah, the ones that you talking about, they were familiar with those individuals. They had close tie and good relationship with those brothers and sisters. So yeah, the late Ben Yamin, right? He had moved from Chicago, and then he traveled to Ghana, I believe, and then from Ghana he traveled to Israel. Yeah. So to this day, they are still in Israel. They in Dimona, Israel, as of right now, as we speak. But the Israeli government trying to give them a hard time as well. But they still over there right now, maintaining as much as possible. Yep. So yeah, they've been over there for a long time. Hmm. Now the Hebrew Israelite camp that I was a part of, the brother name was Michael or Mikael Ben Cohen. I think that was his name, Mikael Ben Cohen, or is it Mikael Ben Levi Cohen? I think that's his name. I don't remember, but I know the brother is in South America. I think he's in Guyana right now. Yeah. So he's like the main rabbi, or if you want to call the main priest, main teacher over that particular camp. But yes, I'm familiar about the Afro-Hebrew Israelites. Let me see. The alphabet gang don't care about African Americans outside of very specific state. What alphabet gang you're talking about? You talking about the ADOS people? You talking about the ADOS and the LBA? Of course they not gonna care because half of them don't study the information. They pretty much use what is called confirmation bias. So of course they not gonna care. They not gonna care because they are confirmation bias. They use information to only support their claims. They're not caring about that. So yeah, they don't study enough. They don't If they really study the information thoroughly, then they'll realize there is more to it. See, a lot of people don't know a lot about slavery. We only know enough, just a little bit, maybe about 1.5% of information about slavery. It's a lot to slavery that people don't know about. You know what I'm saying? I keep saying this all the time. Slavery was not just a United States business. It was a international conglomerate. Okay? It was an international conglomerate that the United States was a part of. All right. It wasn't just subjugated to the United States. So when people say that we are American descent of slaves, yes, that's true. But we also have slaves that was in other parts of the world as well. You had slaves over there in the Latin countries, in South America. You had slaves in the Caribbean. Okay. You had slaves in various parts of Europe. You know what I'm saying? You had slaves over in the Middle East. If you really want to get technical, it gets deep. If you really study history, when you study transatlantic slave trade, it gets really deep. It's a lot of information that we don't know, that we think we know. Oh, child, you used to be a part of IUICK, or was it IUIC? Oh yeah, I know about them. Yeah, them guys over there, they very radical. Yeah, I was never a part of that camp. No, I was never a part of that camp. See, the camp that I was a part of, they were they were a little bit more peaceful. They were non-Messianic Hebrew Israelites. They didn't do that stuff out there on the street. They had their own temple. You know what I'm saying? And they had services every Saturday, and they was pretty peaceful. They was pretty African centered, very African centered. They didn't mind interacting with other people that was outside the Hebrew Israelite camp. You know what I'm saying? They had network with various people that was Pan African. So what I'm saying? So I pretty much enjoyed them. I didn't last very long with them, but I did enjoy them. You know what I'm saying? Why I had the chance to do so. Yeah. But I wish I would have never started off as a Hebrew Israelite. looking back at it, I wish I started off as something else. But everybody go through their journey. Everybody go through their experience in life. So you learn while you here. Of course, they don't think. See, let me tell y'all something. And I'm glad that you brought this up. And I said something about this the other day. See, a reason why a lot of them don't want to see themselves as African descent, because for one, they are in denial. And two, many of them don't even know enough about their origin. And then you got those who believe that Africa is a thing of the past. They feel like this, we've been in America for so long. You know what I'm saying? Our people been in this country. Why should we identify as African when we've been in America? This is all we know. And that's their attitude. Their attitude is that America is all we know. We don't know shit about Africa. And if we came in contact with African people, they don't recognize us. They don't really know us. So why should we be in contact with those African people when they don't even accept us? And then they'll use the argument about the transatlantic slave trade that, hey, our people sold us into slavery. So obviously they didn't want us there. So why should we identify as being African when those people sold us into slavery? Why should we be African? We don't want no connection with those people. We don't have no ties to those people. That's their attitude. Now, yes, it's true that we gotta be honest. It is true that there were Africans that played a part in the transatlantic slave trade. There were those who did. We have to be honest about that. And however, there was those who were against it. See, that's another part that people don't know, that there were those who fought against the transatlantic slave trade. There were those who did not want the Europeans in the country, taking people out the land and send them over here to the Americas. There were those who fought against it. However, when you got people who's in a higher position of power, they're not caring about what other people gotta say. They looking at their own needs. They looking at their own wants. So they feel like, well, shoot, we're gonna trade with these people, right? We're gonna get the resources that we want, and we're gonna give them whatever we have, you know what I'm saying, whether it be gold or slaves. And however, years later, it backfired on them. It backfired on them because they end up getting colonized by the very same people they was trading with. They end up getting colonized by the French. Some areas was colonized by the British, by the people from Belgium, the people from Spain, people from Portugal. They end up colonizing these nations. So it backfired on them at the end. It backfired on them. So it was like, it really wasn't no win for them after all. You know what I'm saying? So the slavery history, it can make you sad, and it can make you angry. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we cannot deny what we are and our bloodline. We can't deny it. It is what it is. It's just like if your mama or your daddy sold you off to someone else, right? At the end of the day, you may not have a good relationship with your mama or your daddy, but they still your biological parents, and you can't do anything about it genetically. It is what it is. So that's how we gotta look at it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? All the history is not good, bad, or ugly. So we can't say every African played a part in slavery, because not every African played a part in it. But we can say there were those who did. And then we also gotta look at too. People would like to ask, well, why those Africans didn't come over here and save us? Well, you gotta look at this. They couldn't save us. If they was trying to, they had crisis going on in those countries. So how was they going to stop what they doing to come and save us? You know what I'm saying? But you know, so when we look at the history about Liberia, that was a door open to us. You know what I mean? Sierra Leone was a door open to us. You know, many blacks were able to go back to Africa if they choose to. But there were those who didn't want to go back. They wanted to be here in America. You know what I mean? So, and then not just Africa, but you had African Americans that went to Haiti at one point in the 1830s. African Americans went to the Dominican Republic. They went to Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? Jamaica. That's how you got the Jamaican Maroons. They were descendant of African slaves here in America. They ran away and went to Jamaica. So it's a lot that people don't really know. You got to really study the history. You got to study the origin. You cannot just be one-sided. You cannot just be biased. It's a lot more to the information than what people just heard, or it's more to it. It's really more to it. But people have to really study that. Yeah, people have to really study. Let me go ahead. Let me see. When you get a moment, look up Nuno, the Portuguese slave raider that was killed trying to kidnap Africans. Okay. Much of the early slave trade happened via slave raiding, not selling, kidnapping by Portuguese and Spanish. And that's true as well. You're right. That is true. Because the Portuguese and Spanish was one of the first Europeans to come over to Africa before anybody else. See, that's another thing people don't know. The Portuguese and Spanish were the first Europeans to come to Africa. They went to the area that we know today as Angola, Congo area, right? That's where they mainly went, okay? And what they don't realize that the first Africans that were brought here to the Americas was not by the British, but by the Portuguese and Spanish, okay? They were brought into the area what we know today as South Carolina. South Carolina was occupied by the Spanish people before the British people had their hands on it. People don't know that. There were slaves that was over there in South Carolina. They was in the area known as, which is now known as Georgetown. But a part of Georgetown was called Winyah Bay. So Winyah Bay was where the first Africans were at. And then people don't know about St. Augustine, Florida. St. Augustine, Florida as well. There was African that was brought over there by the Spanish people. So it was the Spanish and Portuguese that was one of the first to have slave trades, to start the slave trades. Then the British and French came along because they saw it as a great opportunity to get money, basically to build up their economy and to have a new world where they can transport resources and whatnot. So they said, well, okay, well, if they can go over there, shoot, we need to go on over there too. The Dutch came along, the French came along, the British came along because they saw it as an opportunity. So they say, well, shoot, Africa got all the resources pretty much. They rich over there. They got all the natural resources. Shoot, why not go over there? Why not get not only the natural resources, but also let's get the people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this is what I personally believe. I believe there were those who was involved in the slave trade, as far as Africans were concerned. But I also believe that there were Africans who rebelled against the slave trade, you know what I'm saying? And then there were those who were coerced by the Europeans. I believe that the Europeans also told them that, hey, if you don't give us the amount of people that we want, then you are not going to have your country. We're going to take over. I'm just putting that into translation. But I think that was the attitude they was giving Africans, and the Africans part felt like they was under pressure to sell African people in slavery. So, you know what I'm saying? So you had those who were willing to give the African slaves over. Then you had those who felt like they were under pressure. And then there were those who were rebelling against the slave trade. So it's a lot of things that goes on with that. But you pretty much right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. You know what I'm saying? You pretty much made the point. Let me see. Yeah, the Fulani sold their people in other tribes. Then you have pretensions. They'll acknowledge their European, Indian. You have pretensions. They'll acknowledge their European and Indian ancestry, but not the African, because many of them feel like Africa is a thing of the past. And they were taught to hate their African selves. They was told so many negative things about Africa that they don't feel like they have a connection with African people. But my God, you say you in the black culture. Well, how did you think the black culture came into existence? The black culture came into existence through those Africans that were enslaved. See, without the Africans, you would not have a black culture. You would not have no black culture. You would not have Black Americans or Soulans or ADOS, FBAs, and all these different groups. You wouldn't have that. Let me see. If you're a descendant of slaves kidnapped by white people, any anti-African argument is invalidated. Yeah, it is invalidated, but you know what? In their minds, you can't tell them that. You can't tell certain people that because they feel like Africa is a thing of the past. It's a thing of the past. Why are we bringing Africa up? We don't have no relationship with those people. Those people don't like us. Those people don't want us around. They don't claim us. This is their attitude. Now, I will say this: there are some Africans who are ignorant and do not like African Americans for whatever reason because they were brainwashed into believing information about African Americans. And then you'll be surprised that there's some Africans that don't know anything about the slave trade. They don't know anything about the slave trade because they have not been taught. They have not been taught about that in their school system. So what they were taught was about the British history, the French history, and all of that. They weren't talk. They didn't learn about the slave trade. I knew one African sister that I met. She was from Nigeria, and she said back at home they never talked about the slave trade. She never learned it in school until she started looking up information for herself. She said they never talked about that. And then what's interesting, they got a site over there, where what is it called? But it's some type of site over there, for the slaves or whatnot. It's like a historical site over in Lagos, Nigeria. They got a historical site in Lagos, Nigeria that is dedicated to the slave that tells a story about the slave trade over in that area. But many of them don't even know about slave trade history. They don't know. Because they're not taught that in their school system. And you deal with these Africans who have been colonized by Europeans. So there is division going on between those in Central West Africa and those here in America. Now there are certain individuals that get it and they know their history because they took the opportunity to actually study on their own. But then there are those who don't know anything, and then there are some that ain't trying to learn that they just ignorant. They don't care to learn. You know what I'm saying? So, and then with all this beefing that's going on, this back and forth with who's the descendant of the slaves and all of this other stuff, where if you study your history, you will find out that you have a connection and there's a commonality. You know what I'm saying? I bet you a lot of Igbo people in Nigeria don't even know about the Igbo landing that took place in St. Simon Island, Georgia. Right in St. Simon Island, Georgia, over there in Dunbar Creek. I bet you a lot of Igbo don't even know about the Igbo landing. I bet you they don't even know about the Igbo village, right, in Staten, Virginia. And then there's another village out in South Carolina. I can guarantee you that a lot of them don't know. Maybe some know, but a lot don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, but my conclusion is I think the reason why we have not learned about our history here in America as far as like in detail is because I think with the Western culture, they feel like if they start telling us black people here in America and the diaspora and also teaching the blacks over there in the continent about the history of African descended people in more detail, I guess they feel like, I think in the back of their mind, they feel like we're going to rebel against them. So they feel like in order to keep us from not rebelling against them and not looking at them as our enemy or as our ops or whatever, they want to withhold certain information. Why do you think they do that in Florida? Why do you think they try to take certain information out of textbook? Why you think they don't want to talk about Black history? Because if they go into detail about Black history, they know that it's going to make us have a different perspective about this society and about them. And see, they're trying to find ways to try to cover up the racism. They're trying to paint this picture like we're all just one human being, one nation under God. That's what they're trying to do. So they figure if they don't talk about their history and talk about their information or share none of their information to us about our African descent and our African ancestors and what really happened during slavery, then maybe we will learn to see each other as just humans and not look at colors. But that doesn't work because we still deal with the effects of the racism. We still deal with we still see what's going on with our people in this country. So that trying to cover up history is not going to help. Just like when they trying to take these Confederate statues down and trying to change the monuments and all of that stuff to cover up the racist history, that's not helping. What good is that going to do? You left it up there long enough. Why not tell the story of what really took place in this country? Why take down the statues? Why try to get rid of the historical sites? Why? You might as well tell the truth. You might as well tell people the history, what they need to know. You know what I'm saying? Then that comes from a lot of information not being exposed to us in school. And then a lot of things our parents did not teach us. They didn't have the time to sit at home and teach us about history because they were too busy trying to figure out how they was gonna survive and how they was gonna get another meal on their plate. You know what I'm saying? Then there were those of them who was too busy out there in the street getting high off of drugs, getting locked up. You know what I'm saying? And then others doing what they want to do. So they didn't have the time to sit down and talk about Black history and all that to us. So that's another thing. If we really knew our history like we should have, there would not be so much division going on. There wouldn't be so much discombobulation if we really knew our history. But what happened is we don't really know. We don't really know the history. Majority of Black people here in America do not know their history. They do not know the origin of history. They don't know anything about slavery. They don't even know if they not even sure if they African descent. And we talking about vast majority of Black people. They don't know. If you go ask the average Black person on the street, do they know anything about their history? They'll tell you no. They'll tell you they don't know nothing about slavery. They'll tell you they don't really know anything about Africa. They don't know nothing about Central West Africa. And those who know is only a small percentage that do. They also say we don't have any culture, but media doesn't really showcase the real Solan culture and history. They just associate us with rap and drugs. Exactly, it's another thing. Now we do have a culture, but the culture that we have is not really celebrated widely as all the other culture. It's only parts of our culture that's being celebrated. And then another problem is in our community, we don't respect and honor the cultural practice that our ancestors passed down to us. We really don't. Many of us do not honor and respect the cultural practice of our ancestors. So I agree, we do have a culture, but of course, it's not going to showcase in the media. And many of our community, you don't see people really honoring the cultural practices of our ancestors as much. Only certain ones. There are some Fulani that believe that not one Fulani was enslaved. Oh, and that's a lie in itself. Because that's because those Fulani they don't know the history. They don't know anything by Sore Ibrahim Soray. They don't know anything about him. Ibrahim Soray was a Fulani that was enslaved here in America. He was in Natchez, Mississippi for 25 years of his life. No. Actually, 40 years of his life. 40 years of his life. He was brought here at the age of 25, right? And remind you, he was a prince. And I think he was from Guinea. I think the country is Guinea-Bissau or Guinea, one of those countries, right? He was a prince, and he was brought here to America as a slave at the age of 25, and he was in Natchez, Mississippi for 40 years. He went back home at the age of, well, he went back to Africa at the age of 65, but he ended up dying in Monrovia, Liberia. He was a Fulani. Many people don't know that. So yeah, there were Fulanis that were brought here to America as slaves. Because they were taken out of Senegal. They were taken out of Ivory Coast, out of the Guinea-Bissau area. You know what I'm saying? Gambia. Along with the Hausa people. It is, when I tell you it goes deep, it goes really deep. It's a lot that we have to discover. It's a lot. I doubt most people from NOLA know gumbo is an African word for okra. Them tell you not African. They don't, because they think that is a word that came out of New Orleans, gumbo. You know what I'm saying? Because they hear it in New Orleans. They don't hear African people saying gumbo like that. But they don't even know that okra came from Africa, came from West Africa. You know what I'm saying? See, it's a lot. When the culture debate argument pops up, it's usually to buffer the European elements. Sadly speaking, many of our people, when they say that, when you hear people like Adolf or FBA say that I am American, I'm not an African. What they're telling you subconsciously is that they rather be an Anglo-Saxon or European before they be called African. They are saying that they rather be a westernized person before they consider themselves to be African. Because, and I'm going to do a subject about this. To be African, to be American is to be white, to be European. So I'm going to do a subject about that. And a lot of white folks are mad at me right now because there's a video that I got posted up on my channel where Dr. Greg Carr explained why to be American means to be white. So a lot of white folks in the comment section, they mad. They mad right now. They going off. They going in because they don't like what he's saying. But that's what it is. You know, a lot of people, when they say I'd rather be American, I'd rather be American before I be African. That basically saying that I'd rather be white. I'd rather be European before I become African. And that's what they're telling people subconsciously. Now, we are American because of our nationality, because we were born here in this country. We was born in this land. So based on our nationality, we would be American. But when people say I would rather be American, identify as American, and not identify as an African, that tells you something right there. That really tells you a lot. It does. Oh, and speaking of the Moors, you know, the Moors trip me out. They trip me out, boy. And let me tell you something. A lot of those Moors trip me out because how is that you could call yourself being Moors or being Moorish and you have no connection with Africa? Because the last time I checked, one of the first Moors were in Africa. They were in northwestern region, which they call the Maghreb. Okay, Northwest Africa is considered as Maghreb. Maghreb means it also means sunset. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that whole area was Maghreb. You talking about the Morocco, Mauritania, Algeria, Tunisia, just to name a few. That's where the Moors came up out of. So when you say that you're a Moor, but you say you ain't got no connection to Africa. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It just baffled me. I mean, yeah, Noble, but I don't think Noble Drew. Well, I don't know. I gotta look up that information, but I ain't never seen no information where Noble Drew Ali ever declared himself being anti-African. You know what I'm saying? Because from what I read, he was very much influenced by Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. He was very much influenced by them. So Marcus Garvey was one of his biggest influence. And maybe Noble Drew Ali had good intentions or whatnot, but I don't think he was trying to preach that you are anti-African, or I mean, I ain't never heard about him preaching anti-Africanism. Maybe I'm just missing the information. I don't know, but I don't even know. But it baffles me. The Moors confuses me. They confuse the hell out of me at times. They confuse me. They say that our ancestors didn't come from Africa. We are Moorish people. Well, damn, where you think the Moorish people came from? You think they came from the United States? You think they came from Turkey? I mean, I don't know. Moors believe themselves to be better than Africans due to their religious belief. That's why you hear them calling themselves Asiatic black men. Said that. Okay, yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, they do. They do refer to themselves as Asiatic. I forget. I forget. You're right. They do refer to themselves as being Asiatic, but I don't know. Hmm, but still, I mean, hmm, I don't know. I don't really know. I really don't know. They just baffle me a little bit. They really do. It confuses the hell out of me. I'm like, okay. They don't claim Africa in that way. They the remain the remnants of collapsed sun god mostly. And sun god is in Africa. That's West Africa. So you might as well say you're West African. If you're gonna rep, okay, if you're gonna rep the part of Africa, which is sun god was a kingdom in West Africa. So you're basically saying that you are West African subconsciously. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. If you say they don't claim Africa in that way, they rep the remnants of collapsed sun god mostly, then you basically represent West Africa. Because sun god empire was part of West Africa. I mean, ah boy. Oh boy. Mm. Moorish is what spawned the whole Native American garbage. And and here's the thing. I don't have anything against the Native American brothers and sisters out there. Shout out to them. But I always want, what is the fascination? Why is that you as a black person trying to represent Native American? What's the fascination? And how many black people actually went to the Native American reservation? How many people actually went to the reservation camp? If you are African or if you're a black person that say you are Native American, have your ass went down there to the reservation camp? Have your ass went down to Oklahoma somewhere? Have y'all asses actually went down to the reservation camp? I would like for those black people to go take a visitation to the reservation camps where the Native Americans are and tell them that they are the real Native American, they are true Native American. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. They don't. And race is a social construct. Actually, race is a social construct. Because at one point in time, there was no such thing as race. And the only reason why race exists is to base on status. That's all it is. Race exists because it's going by status. So if you white, that basically means that you're privileged. If you're black, that means you're underprivileged. If you're white, you're privileged. If you're black, you're underprivileged. That's basically what it means, because that's based on social status more than skin color per se. But it has been used synonymously as skin color. And nationality is where you was born, and your ethnicity is, your origin, as far as your genetics, like where your ancestry come from, as far as like what land or what area are they indigenous to. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of us think that our people are indigenous to America. No, they're not. They're not indigenous to America. They are indigenous to Africa. Our ancestors were indigenous to Africa. So we're not the indigenous people here. We just happen to be here because of the events that took place, which was slavery. But we're not indigenous people. The indigenous people of America are the Native Americans. They are the indigenous people. We're not. As far as when we talk about lineage and ancestry wise, we're not indigenous to this land. Oh, don't get me started on that. That Egypt in America. Don't get me started on that. That the whole for nationhood and free land is why they're doing it. Whew. Well, good luck with that. Right, but Marcus Garvey was one of his influencers at the time. Yeah, you're right. He wasn't a big follower of the UNIA, of course. I mean, he wasn't, but he was influenced by Garvey. Yeah, child. But let me look up this information the brother was talking about. What's his name? Nuno Tres Trestiano. Nuno Trestiano. Let's see. Nuno. Look up that name. Okay, let's look up who you're talking about, brother. I'm going to share this information. Yeah, let me go ahead and share the information to the people. All right, so King Born wanted me to share the information about a Portuguese slave trader, if you will, if you have. Let's see what we talking about here. Okay, so his name is Nuno Trestiano. It's Portuguese, and he was a 15th century Portuguese explorer and slave trader active in the early 1440s. Traditionally thought to be the first European to reach the region of Guinea, legend has it that he sailed as far as Guinea-Bissau. However, more recent historians believe he did not go beyond the Gambia River. Mm. Okay, so let's look at it. It says the first voyage was he was a knight of the household of Henry the Navigator. In 1441, Trestiano was dispatched by Henry in one of the first prototypes of the Latin Ridge Caravel to explore the West African coast of Cape Barbars, the furthest point reached by Henry's last ship 5 years earlier. All right, so it says around Rio de Oro, Trestiao met up with the ship of Antaos Gas was it Gas I'm not even gonna try to say that name, but anyways, who had been sent on a separate mission by Henry that year to hunt monk seal that basket on those shores. Hmm. Then it goes on to talk about Nuno Tresianos, who carry on board one of Henry's Moorish servants to act as an interpreter, interrogate Gonzalo's captives, camel driver. All right. Then it says the Portuguese attacked the fishermen, taking some of the 10 captives, the first African slaves taken by the Portuguese back to Europe. All right. So, and then talk about his second voyage. So, he was sent out by Henry again and pressed beyond the Cape Blanc to reach the Bay of Agun. On the Aguan Island, Tresiaus encountered a Sahaja Berber village, the first permanent settlement seen by Henry's captains on the West African coast. Mhm. Then talk about his third voyage as fishing settlements around the Agun banks were quickly devastated by the Portuguese slave traders in 1445. And he was sent by Henry to press further south and look for new slave raiding grounds. Reach as far south as borderlands of Senegal, where the Sahara Desert ends and forest begins, and the coastal population changed from 20 Sahaja Berbers to black Wolofs. Oh, and it says he was stopped by the Agroom banks and took another 21 Berber captives. And let me see his the fourth voyage, which would be his last voyage. So he was set out on his fourth and final trip down to West African coast, somewhere south of Cape Verde. He came across the mouth of a large river, and he took 22 sailors with him on a launch upriver to search for a settlement to raid. But the launch was ambushed by 13 native canoes with some 80 armed men, quickly surrounded Nuno Tresiados, along with most of his crew, was killed on the spot by poison arrows. 2 might have escaped. Damn. So it is uncertain how far Nuno Tresiados actually sailed and where he died. So basically, ooh, damn, what a history. What a history there. Okay, what a history. So basically that man went over there. He took 4 trips to West Africa, tried to get these slaves, and on his 4th attempt, he ended up getting got. So basically they took his ass out. So the native of that land took his ass out. They took him and his crew out. They said, bye bye, you got to go. Yeah, we got your ass now. Your ass ain't finna come over here. Damn. Damn, what a history. What information right there. I appreciate you sharing that with me, brother. I have to look more into him. I have to find some books on him so I can be able to like actually read more into it and actually share it with people. But yeah, wow. So that was his 4th and final time. And I guess the person that sent him, I guess he regrets sending him over there the first 3 times. Damn. That's crazy. Damn. Okay, let me see. And he was one of the many thousand who died kidnapping, not buying people. I seen that in the article that he ended up getting his behind taken up out of there. they took his behind up out of there with the arrows. They took him out. They said, "Goodbye, we got you. We got you. Yeah, I bet you won't come on this territory no more. We got you." That is the important part to me. That this was not selling of Africans by Africans. Oh, I mean, but like I said, I do believe that there were Europeans that were kidnapping Africans. Um, yes, I mean, I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it was just African just selling them alone. I believe that there was some coercion involved. Mean that there were some Africans who were forced to do so. and there was those who rebelled, and I believe that there was some Europeans that were trying to sneak their way up in there and try to take as many people as much as possible. but so he didn't get that far. He couldn't get that far. He couldn't get that far. They came with them arrows like boom. So those ancestors were fully enslaved via white kidnap, no black collaboration. I mean, now in the beginning, okay, in the beginning, but still there was those Africans who did play their part in that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and we talking about Africans who were in a higher position. Now let me talk a little bit about Ibrahim Soulaa, right? Ibrahim Soulaa, I did a video on him if you guys want to check it out on my channel. He was a prince. His job was to get the enslaved Africans, right, and transport them over to the Europeans. That was his job. But a guy by the name of Robert Foster looked at him and said, you know what? We're going to take your ass too. He was like, no, I'm not a slave. I'm a prince. My job is to give you guys the slave. It's not your job to take me on the slave ship. And the guy said, the Europeans said, well, we don't care what your status is. You coming on this goddamn slave ship. So here it is. You had ancestors not only that were peasants, meaning workers, people who were pastoralists, you know what I'm saying, gurus, but you had those who were in higher positions, you know, had a higher status, those who were prince, you know what I'm saying, those who were clergymen that were brought into slavery as well. So I always say this to people: we're not only descendant of slaves, but we're also descendant of those who were slave traders as well. Some people don't like to hear that. We're not only descendants of those who were enslaved, but also we are also a descendant of those who were slave traders. And then also those who were slave traders who end up becoming slaves. Yeah, those slave traders end up turning into slaves themselves because the Europeans were so greedy. They said, you know what? You did a good job. Thank you so much for bringing us the slaves that we want, but we want to take your ass too. You got to come along too. Come on, get your ass on this boat. And that's what happened to Ibrahim Soulaa. It was like, get your ass on this boat. He ain't had no choice but to get on the damn boat. No matter how many times he told that European that, hey, I'm a prince. I'm not supposed to be on this slave ship with y'all. Well, get your ass on anyways, because we going to have your ass out there working too. No, Solan is not a tribal group per se. Solan is a term for African Americans or the African in the diaspora. That's all it is, a term for the African Americans. You know what I'm saying? And like there is subgroups of the Solan people. And let me go back in. Let me post this back up for you. So let me go back and show you real quick, brother, since you got here. So these are the subgroup of the Solan, which is the sole African Americans. You know, the African descended of people that was enslaved here in America, right? Americo Liberians, Somalia Americans, Jersey American, Afro-Novias, New York Americans, Moroccans, the Gullah Geechee, the Afro Seminoles, the Mascogos, the Louisiana Creole people, just to name a few. You know what I'm saying? So these are the subgroups of the Solan, right? Okay, but Solan means soul African Americans. That's all it means. You know, because we got soul music, soul food, soul brother, soul sister, all of that. That's all it is. Yeah, soul African American nation. That's all it is, brother. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. I heard that argument before too about the Moors. I heard about that. Also, what people don't know, before there was a transatlantic slave trade, there was a trans-Saharan slave trade. There was a trans-Saharan slave trade that was taking place where Africans were enslaved by other Africans in various parts of the region, right? Particularly in the northwestern part of Africa, West Africa area. Okay, so you got the and also the Arabs were a part of that. The Arabs played a part of that where they was taking Africans and taking them to other countries and things like that. So you had the trans-Saharan slave trade, right, that happened in Africa. Then you had the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. That's a good question. I didn't even know about the New York Americans, but you know how it is like certain parts of the United States, we have like a subgroup, like you got the Creole people, you got the Gullah Geechee people, and you got the New Yorkers, black New Yorkers up there. Um, it's just basically a subgroup, that's all. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's all it is. So they got their little own culture. They got their own little thing, just like the people in the South got. We got our own little thing in the South. We got our own little, culture, whatnot. And also, there is a Jersey American. There's Jersey American people. Let me see. You got Jersey Americans. As a matter of fact, let's look up New York Americans. Black New York Americans. Oh, let's see why they call themselves New York Americans. Hmm. Let me look up the New York Americans. Okay, so let's just look. Let's look at it real quick. New York Americans probably refers to Africans in New York prior to the Great Migration. They celebrate Dutch holidays. Yeah, that's part of what it is. That's part of what it is. That's part of what it is. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see what we can find. Glad that you brought that up. But you know what? That's part of what it is. Let me see if I can find something. So basically, it says that African American New Yorkers are resident of the U.S. United States of New York who are of African American ancestry. As of the 2020 U.S. Census, African Americans were 17.6% of the state's population. New York has the third largest African American population of any state in the United States after Texas and Georgia. Blacks were brought to the state during the slave trade when New York was a Dutch colony. So New York abolished slavery in 1827. Many black Southerners from southern states such as Georgia, Virginia, and the Carolinas moved to the state during the Great Migration. A second black migration wave from Caribbean countries such as Jamaica began around the same time. So, Pari, you are correct. So, more than likely, I think you're correct. Right. Yeah, not every Georgia is Geechee. Like in Atlanta, we don't have Geechee people. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But if you go to Savannah, there is a lot of Gullah Geechee people in Savannah. In Brunswick, Georgia, there's Gullah Geechee people out there. You know what I'm saying? And if you go into Land and Tybee Island, somewhere like that, you'll find the Gullah Geechee people out there. But in the city of Atlanta, or if you go to Athens, there's not really a lot of Gullah Geechee people. So the Gullah Geechee people, they're on the peninsula. They on the coastal line. So they go from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. All right. So that's where you might mainly find the Gullah Geechee people right there from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, but you know, more than likely, based on the information, I think your analysis is correct. To be honest, I think your analysis is correct. You know, yeah. So your analysis is correct, but yeah, you know, like the Gullah Geechee got their own little culture. The Louisiana people out there got their own little culture. You know what I'm saying? You know, and yeah, everybody got their, you know, there's a subculture within the African American culture. So, you know what I'm saying, there's subgroups of African Americans, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Yeah. So I hope that answer your question, but I think you answered your own question, King Born. I really think you answered your own question by what you made that statement on. Yeah, I think you answered your own question about the New York Americans probably refer to Africans in New York prior to the Great Migration. They celebrate Dutch holidays. Yeah, I think you answered your own question better than I did. But yeah, part of Georgia will be Gullah Geechee, not all of Georgia, but part of it. And the ones that's on the coastal line, that's mostly Gullah Geechee people. That's where you're gonna find a lot of Gullah Geechee people at. Right, but at the end of the day, we all black people, you know what I'm saying? We all African descent, you know what I mean? Whether we be in the northern part of the United States, the southern part, the Midwest, or West Coast, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we are still African descended people. You know what I'm saying? You talking about the Appalachian people from the Appalachian Mountain? Yeah, I heard about the Moroccans. Is that's what you call them, the Moroccans? Yeah, the people. I know what you're talking about. The Appalachian Mountain. Yeah. The people that's over there in that area, they shoot. Let me look their name up because I remember. Let me look up blacks in the Appalachian Mountain. What is they called? Oh my God. The Melungeon people. That's what they're called. The Melungeon. My bad. I said Moroccans. I don't know what I get Moroccans from. The Melungeon people. That's what they are. The Melungeons. Yeah. And then there's another group of black people. They over there in the other part of the Appalachian area. They like in the lower part of Tennessee and Kentucky. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on. Ooh. Let me. What is they called? That's another group of black people because they in the lower part of the Appalachian. Um, shoot. Let me see. Let me see what's the name of the group. I know one of them is the Melungeon people, and there's another group of black people that's in the Appalachian, but they on the lower part. They over there by Tennessee and Kentucky. It's a name for them. Let me look them up. Shoot, cause let me see. What's the name of that group? Cause cause it's another group of black people. They, cause I did a video on them a while back. I remember I did a video. I had to go through my video archive because I know I did the video on them. I did a video on the Melungeon people, I remember, and then there was another one I did about the black people, but they were in the lower part of the Appalachian Mountain region. They was over in the eastern part of Tennessee and somewhere in Kentucky. Um, Dang, yeah, I can't. I gotta go back and look through my archive. But I never heard that term of the Afro-Lanchian. I never heard that terminology. Yeah, I never heard that terminology, but I have heard of the Melungeon people. Um, Shoot. Yep. Maybe I can find them. Hold on. Maybe I can pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. Let me see if I can pull it up. Trying to think. It's called the Black Ozarkers. That's what I'm talking about. The Black Ozarkers. Yeah, the Black Ozarkers. They over there in that region. Yeah, they are referred to as the Ozark Mountain Blacks. Mhm. Yeah, so they in the region of Missouri and Arkansas, Oklahoma, and the extreme southeastern corner of Kansas. And they are descendant of the enslaved from America's upper south and the Appalachian region of Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina. So yeah, they call them the Black Ozarkers. That's the the Black Ozarkers. Yeah, yeah, look them up. Yeah, look them up. They live in the mountain region. Yeah, they live in the Ozark region, and they over there by the Appalachian Mountain area over there near Tennessee, Kentucky, and all of that. Yep. Hmm. Yeah, that's the group. So that's the only two I heard of: the Melungeon people and the Black Ozarkers. Yeah, but woo, child, Lord have mercy. But you know what? This has been an interesting discussion. Yeah, this has been an interesting discussion. This has been an interesting conversation. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for coming through. And I hope that for those of you who may not know the term or never heard this new term, the Solan or Soulaa, um, now you learn it. I mean, we all learn something new. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning something new each and every day. So I just wanted to come on here and have this beautiful build with you guys. But until next time, I hope you all take it easy on yourselves. Please be safe, and I will keep you guys posted on the information on subject matters. Thank you, King Born. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming through. And I hope y'all have a great evening. And if you guys want to tune in, you guys can check out my videos, my previous videos that I've done, and and go from there. So until next time, peace and power, elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging out. And I will be checking out your channel, RW. I'll be on the lookout for your channel. Matter of fact, I'll be subscribing to your channel, see what your channel is about. But thank you for coming through. Thank everybody for coming through. Peace to Kingborn, RW Cons. Let's see. A bio done. Who. And let me see, who else am I missing? Oh, Chemistry Black Magic. Shout out to you. Let's see, who else is on here? Brother Dejan, I see you. D1 Beats, I see you. Thank you for coming through. And y'all have a great evening. So peace.